I just call it phases because there's phases of life. There's chapters. Because I've always called it phases just because like I think in every phase there has to be a start and there has to be a stop. And that is the parameters in which I'm trying to accomplish this goal. So for example, the storage facility where I cross it off my list of this phase, I was going to put it into a later phase. But I like to have starts and stops for certain phases where I'm like, okay, if I just write down, I want to buy a storage facility and I don't give myself a parameter in which I'm doing it, 100%.
Yeah.
Then it's going to just sit there and never really feel real. But if you write something down and say, hey, I'm going to buy 3 single family properties this year, well, your mind is going to start looking for ways to accomplish that goal, subconsciously or consciously.
Yes.
And so I try to create confines of my goals and give myself boundaries so I can actually be aggressive.
We had Alex Hernandez on the podcast, and this guy, he is in the 1% of the 1% of income earners. But what's so special about him is that he's taken his money and he's found ways to invest it to basically pay dividends later. So what were your thoughts, Ben?
This guy is such a good dreamer and goal setter. The first time I met him, he was showing me all his visions that he has right on his phone. He keeps it in the forefront of his mind. Very intelligent. We talked about developing important skills. We talked about following your dreams and carving out a life by design. I hope you enjoy the show. This episode is brought to you by Big Storage Ventures. We are now inviting you to team up and partner alongside us. We bring our experience hunting storage deals and maximizing the self-storage asset to provide our partners with cash flow, tax benefits, and appreciation, all in one recession-resistant asset. Leverage our sister company, Big Ben's Moving Service, to fill your facility and give you an edge over the competition. Reach out to bigstorageventures@gmail.com or DM Big Storage Ventures on Instagram to team up. Thanks for coming on, man. You had a chance to meet Callan.
Yeah,
good to
so
meet you,
I've heard a lot about you. Ben's talked about you a lot. You guys had a lot of conversations. I think it first came up was that killer storage deal you did, which is pretty awesome. So just getting to know you a little bit, before we started recording, and I'm excited to hear about your story and how you, I think you're already prepared for you to drop some dimes for us.
Yeah, I'm here to share as much as I possibly can, provide some insight, real estate, storage, software, business. I mean, everything, whatever you want to talk about.
Well, my first impression of you was just like I had a really strong impression because we met through storage, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of something that we're passionate about, and you're in the game. And so that's kind of what connected us. So thank you, storage. Mm-hmm. But when we actually got together, man, I realized how much you have your hands in and also how big of a dreamer you are. I remember he pulled out his phone. Pull out your phone, show him. So he has like all his dreams are like right in his notes.
No way.
Yeah, I call them phases, right? So like we have phases
in life,
but phases in our goals. We just have phases, and it's important to kind of say, okay, where do we want to go? And because if you don't know, I mean, it's cliche, right? If we don't know where we're going, how do we end up where we want to be?
100%.
And how many of us even talk about what we want? And but now that I'm married, sharing that information with another person so we're on the same wavelength, that we're going in the same direction, it's important. And having clarity, a lot of the things that we think about and try to accomplish are not that complicated. And we often think too small. And so writing things down and normalizing numbers and normalizing goals, it's funny because by the time I actually reach a goal, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I already kind of I've been thinking about this for so long. It feels so normal. It's almost like it's so anticlimactic because it's been on my list for so long. And I've thought about it for so much and so long that I've normalized it.
Yeah.
So then when it happens, I just was like, all right, well, what's next? And so the storage facility was one of those things.
Right.
I'll pull up that list. I mean, 'cause it's long.
I didn't want you to I'm not going to make you read it. I just wanted to prove I didn't want to show Callan that's what your dreams are always accessible. You always have accessibility to what you're doing, and I think it's such a good practice.
So you guys can see here. I mean, so you can see all these check marks, right? Wow. And so and then there's all that's checked, and then there's still a lot here. And I've broken down my phases by years. You can break them by decades. I mean, you can break them down however you want.
Yeah.
But I'd like to talk about, every year I want to say, okay, where am I going in a 5-year period? And how can I reverse engineer that, work it backwards, and then just start taking it one piece at a time.
Yeah.
And not everything is like super intense. Like I want this many units or this many storage doors or whatever. It can be fun stuff too. It can be, so no one knows this yet, but I just bought a car.
Congrats.
I just bought a car. It's a 66 Mustang. And it was my dream car. One of my dream cars, right? Yes. I'm a big car guy. And so that's been on my list for years. So now, and it's funny too, because I have a picture from 2010. And this is, again, 2010. I'm like a sophomore or junior in high school. Okay. And so I post this picture on Facebook, and I'm like, one day I'm going to get this car and have Sunday drives with my wife. I'm not married in 2010. You know what I mean?
You're in high school.
I'm in high school.
We're the same age.
Yeah. So it's funny that like all these years later, I told my mom that story, and she was like, dude, that's so cool. You've been talking about this car forever. And I'm just like, yeah, cool. Like,
and the girl.
On the next thing. Yeah, exactly. Got the girl first, and I got the car second. But so going back to the whole goal setting and hitting these targets and sub targets, and it's really simple if you just can put it out there. But I'll say something really funny about hitting your goals, because if you put it on paper, it tends to happen, and sometimes you don't know how it happens, whether that's the universe or God or whoever you believe in or what you believe in. Like, there's something there. And so I was under contract on a storage facility, and it was...
This is when we met.
Yeah, it was when we first met. I was talking to you about this, and I never purchased a storage facility. I'm brand new in this industry. I own rental properties. I have a nightly rental in Bryan Head, and so I'm involved in finance. I understand the acquisition side, and ultimately it just wasn't a great deal. And it's okay to walk away from deals, right? And that's one thing that you told me, Ben. You're like, I'm really happy that you were okay with walking away from a deal.
That impressed me.
And I lost $10,000 walking away, right? Lost $10,000 walking away, and it stings a little bit, but I'm sure I'll lose a lot more money in my lifetime, but I'm sure I'll make a lot more too.
Yeah.
But it's funny because on my goal list last year was in 2022 was I wanted to buy a storage facility. And after that happened, no joke, guys, I crossed it off my list. I didn't buy it. I lost the money, and I just said, screw this. I'll buy one later. Cross it off. Like, not like checked it like as complete, but cross it off as if like, it just was a miss. With zero intentions that I was going to buy another one, let alone that year in 2022.
Because what month did Vernal fall out?
It fell out officially in October.
Okay, so fourth quarter, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, keep going.
So fourth quarter, I go under contract in August, and it ended up backing out. I was going to SBA and stuff, and ultimately I had issues with the DSCR score. The purchase price was too high. Didn't have enough rents. Great.
Right.
The seller wasn't willing to negotiate. Great. Right. No big deal. And it was in Vernal, so it's 6 hours away. And so that was going to be a challenge for my first facility. It was going to be a challenge for me to really be able to manage that thing efficiently. Anyways, so everything happens for a reason. I canceled. So yeah, it is what it is. And I have zero intention of looking for another one, zero intentions of buying another one. I was not prepared to buy another one. And it was the last week of November. And my agent sent me a picture of a listing of a storage facility in Parowan, Utah. And it was listed for $1.5 million. Same unit size, a little bit bigger lot than the one I was already under contract on.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's great.
Has a billboard.
It has a billboard.
I'm green with envy, if you can't tell. Keep going.
I'm so excited for this storage facility. But it was so funny because I literally said, well, at this point in quarter 4, interest rates have skyrocketed. Mortgages are slowing down, which is my bread and butter. That's what pays for a lot of my stuff.
Right.
So I'm just like, okay, that sounds great. That, well, if it's around for a while, if it's listed for a while, then maybe we'll take a stab at it. But I pretty much just was kind of like, not interested. She responded, said, nope, it already has offers on it. I think I can get them down to like 1.3 or something. Mm-hmm. And then my ears perked up, and I was like, okay, I can't turn away from a good deal. Okay, let's look at it. I was preparing financially to purchase the other facility. When that fell out, I was already into other projects with that money. Mm-hmm. So I already spent the money, or some of it, on other projects after the previous storage facility fell out. So again, I wasn't prepared to buy this facility. So we ended up closing. So actually, I started looking at it, and within 24 hours, we're under contract. Like, it happened that quickly. And a lot of that just comes to when you know your numbers and you know what's in front of you, it's easy to make decisions. Now, again, there's learning experiences that I would go back and change slightly, but I don't regret it. I love the storage facility. I got it at a good price. I ended up buying it for $1.25 million. So I was able to negotiate. I was able to get, again, it was listed for $1.5 million, got $250,000 off because I was willing to close in 2.5 weeks. So I closed very quickly, which when closing that fast, the con is you don't get to go through all your due diligence.
Right.
Luckily, I really did good on this purchase. Everything checked out great. But
had a little buffer.
Totally, you have a little bit of buffer.
But it could have been
easily. Bad. Which I'll tell you another story where I lost $90,000 this year on another project.
We got to hear the lows too.
I'm going to give you everything, and because they all work together, and you really can't appreciate the good wins when you don't have any losses. And this was my first major loss, and it happened in Q1 of this year. So it's fresh still.
Yeah.
But I ended up purchasing the storage facility, ended up closing December 15th. So
same
literally
year.
In the same quarter, was like, I'm completely out of this. I crossed it off my list. It's like just chalked it up as a loss. And I was like, okay, maybe in the next 2 years I'll buy one. Right?
Yeah.
Because I knew from the first experience, I was like, that was a lot of work. It was a lot of due diligence. Yeah. It fell out. I need something closer. Well, what's the likelihood of finding a facility that's within driving distance that I can go there and back in a day? And so this one popped up in Parowan. It's close enough. It just worked out. Yeah. But it's crazy. Going back to the beginning of this conversation, sometimes just by writing things down and just having a direction, and you don't always have to know how you're going to get there, but it's kind of bizarre how you find yourself going down these paths that lead you up to what you want.
Well, it seems so simple, but a lot of people won't do that step. A lot of people won't even write it down, which is, so there's value into that. And like you said, you don't know what's working on in the background, but something usually works in the background to help you to achieve it. So why do you call it phases?
Yeah. I just call it phases because there's phases of life. There's chapters. Because I've always called it phases just because, like, I think in every phase there has to be a start and there has to be a stop. And that is the parameters in which I'm trying to accomplish this goal. So, for example, the storage facility where I cross it off my list of this phase, I was going to put it into a later phase. But I like to have starts and stops for certain phases where I'm like, okay, if I just write down, I want to buy a storage facility and I don't give myself a parameter in which I'm doing it, 100%.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of can just sit there and never really feel real. But if you write something down and say, hey, I'm going to buy 3 single-family properties this year, well, your mind is going to start looking for ways to accomplish that goal, subconsciously or consciously.
Yes.
And so I try to create confines of my goals and give myself boundaries so I can actually be aggressive. And that's one thing is I've been very aggressive the last couple of years is the market's been great, and I've been able to make a lot of money at my W-2 job. Fantastic amount, top 1% of the 1% of income earners in America at 27 to 28 years old, which is I'm very grateful for.
Yeah.
But what's more impressive, in my opinion, is I've took 80% of that money and invested it and put it into other projects, and I was very aggressive. And because of that, I was able to now purchase a storage facility, have multi-million-dollar worth of net worth, and we're not stopping anytime soon. So, so I create phases because I want confines. I want to be able to push the boundaries, and I want it to be scary. I want to be like, man, am I gonna buy the storage facility this year? I have no clue how I'm gonna do it, and then I end up doing it.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we had a conversation the other day with an individual where made like very, very big income, but that money goes fast. You could make millions a year and spend millions a year.
It evaporates, right? You cannot let off the gas. You have to be smart and protect yourself. But yeah, especially at our age in our 20s, you gotta go, man.
Absolutely.
Be disciplined and do those things that you're doing. So like investing, and I don't want to forget, we need to hear how you lost 90 grand this year.
I know, but we need to pick this apart first.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
So what I was going to point out was I was going to highlight the time constraint you gave yourself, right? So there's that acronym of SMART goals, but the T in the SMART is time bound, right? So you push yourself. And the other thing I like that you said was you're scared, right? Not that you don't have courage to overcome, right? But if a goal isn't stretching you enough where you're, where it's pushing you and you're scared, right? Maybe you need a bigger goal. I think that's a really big takeaway as well. And I think the exercise itself of writing stuff down, I think to someone listening who isn't a believer, maybe they're like, oh, it's nice for him. A storage facility fell in his lap, right? But you wrote it down, and unless you've tried that exercise, you really can't say, right? And I think in the process, like, you were letting people know, like, hey, I'm looking for a storage facility.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's why you got the call.
Exactly. So. Yeah. And when you're going down these avenues, and sometimes if I have a goal in front of me and I don't know how I'm going to accomplish it, I look at my network first and I say, okay, who knows this, or who might know of someone that knows this? And you just start asking questions and just say, hey, by the way, have you ever done this before?
Well, you weren't afraid to reach out to me. Like, you, I think a lot of people, maybe ego gets in the way of just like, try to connect. The worst thing you can get is someone says, yeah, sorry, no. But for me, it was like a blast. We got to connect, and I got to learn a lot about what you do. And
there's a lot. I came to you, and there's a lot of things that I can bring to the table for you as well.
Exactly.
Right? Like, with my finance background, I purchased a storage facility in I wouldn't say a beginner's fashion, right? Typically, when you're buying your first storage facility, you don't drop a $1.2 million in hard money loans, right? I purchased this facility cash, hard money, with a 10% interest rate. I was paying $11,000 a month of hard money interest-only payments until I refinanced into an SBA loan.
Right.
You would never recommend that to someone.
No, that's risky.
It's risky business, and we're talking about, I have properties over in this bucket that are cross-collateralized. So, I had a plan, but I had a plan because I was prepared, and I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't. And so I purchased it in a manner. At the end of the day, we're talking about money evaporates. I'm at $50,000 of holding cost from December. I closed my refi in February. So you're talking about, in origination and interest, you're talking about $50,000 of value evaporating. But on the other side, I got a $250,000 discount because the sellers were in need. I identified the issue. They were like, we need to close by the end of the month or end of the year. And all the other offers are SBA. It's going to take 60 to 90 days. We don't have that kind of time. We're willing to cut you a discount if you can close this quickly and perform.
And then you put me in touch with your hard money guy.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And so like going back, even meeting with you, I have a philosophy, guys, and it is skills don't lie. Skills never lie. Money, you can fall into money. You can win the lottery. Money can lie. You can have money and may not be the smartest person in the room. It's fine. But what doesn't lie is the skill set and the value you bring to the table. That's to your partners. That's to your life. And my biggest suggestion is if you're watching this and you're going through life, whatever you're doing right now has to be pertinent to building a certain skill set that you can leverage in the future. And that's it. When I remember, so in 2016, I was selling cars. I started a business, and I was a personal trainer at the time. Wasn't making a lot of money. I was in college, and I was like, I want to start this business, and I want to get it going quickly, but I don't have any money. What can I go do and that I can start actually making money quickly with what I know and who my network is? I had a friend that was selling cars, reached out to him. He's like, yeah, come on to the dealership. I got a job the next day. 12 months later, I quit that job because I started that business that I wanted to start. But that 12 months wasn't for nothing. I could have worked a desk job. I could have made money doing something else, but I wanted the skill set of learning how to sell something. I had zero experience selling before that. So just like we get all these guys that go out for summer, like you have to be selling something. You have to learn a skill set. And then I went and worked at a credit union, right? It's funny how things play out.
Right.
I went to the credit union because I wanted to finish my degree, but I also wanted to surround myself around finance because I was like, great, I got one notch under my belt. I feel like I'm pretty competent at selling stuff. And that's a skill you constantly kind of work on, right?
Yeah.
But then I was like, I want another notch. And I want to learn more about finance. I want about money management. How can I surround myself around these people in this environment? I was making $16 an hour.
Right.
I dissolved the business that I spent the whole prior year building. I lost about $18,000 building that of my own money, right? And credit cards and stuff like that. So I was in negative. Wow. And while I was at the credit union, I learned how to do mortgage loans, which then I was like, wow, you can make a lot of money doing mortgage loans. And the reason I dissolved the business I started was because I didn't have enough money. So I was like, I need to go make money. Before I go do another startup, I need to go make some money. Yeah. So I dissolved that business, got my license, jumped over to Academy. So it's funny how like you look at all the decisions that I've made. At the core of every decision was I need to learn a skill. That could be selling, that can be finance, that can be whatever. But skills provide leverage, and you can leverage that into money because you can sell that skill for time, but also relationships. So coming to you, Ben, I felt confident in my own ability that I can bring you value.
Yeah.
I was coming to you being like, hey, I need your help. I have zero competence in this area. I've never purchased a storage facility before, but I wasn't coming to you to just take from you, to be like, hey, Ben, give me all of the knowledge that you've worked hard and spent your money and time and energy in to teach me for free. Instead, I can say, hey, not only do I do mortgage loans for a living, right? I understand the ins and outs of reserve requirements and debt to income ratio requirements and how they calculate income and how to make my finances look bankable enough so I could do something that was risky in purchasing this storage facility with hard money, knowing I was going to get out of it because I was ready for it.
Yeah, you had it all lined up.
I knew already. And now it was still challenging. But I wouldn't have got through it if I didn't have the skill set and the history of what I do in finance. Because going through the SBA process it's a beast. And they ask for 3 years of everything. And we don't even go that deep on a residential mortgage by any means. And we get killed by clients because like, why are you asking for this? You're crazy. And so anyway, so I'm very grateful that you helped me because I came in.
It was a win-win, man.
Totally. And that's how you want to build your network. Because I know that if I ever want to call you, I know you're there and you're willing to help me, and vice versa. Because I also bring something to the table as well. And so that's my big piece of advice is people need to have skills in the first place. We all want to make money, but you got to have skills that are desirable at the end of the day. So
I love how it's like, I'm going to go work this $16 an hour job so I can get this skill that I want so that I can, leverage that. And I think but it comes back to the planning for those to be willing to have that plan in or the goal in their life, and then to get and do those steps to get the skills to get where they want to be. So
it's a great highlight. And I think let's go back to, we had that big success of the storage facility, but let's get into some of the lows. Like, we don't want everybody to think that it just all happens that way every time, right? So tell us about some of the lows and even the recent one, if you don't mind.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm open book. I mean, so last year, I got into flipping properties. So before that, I was always like, okay, I'm going to buy real estate and I'm never going to sell it. But now I have a little bit different of a mindset regarding that. And we'll talk about my philosophy around real estate investing here in a minute after we talk about me losing money first. Because I think it just depends. We go through phases in life and we go through evolutions. And I also want to talk about identity and how we identify with what we believe in. Yeah. Right. And I want to talk about that later. But I was flipping a property and I did not do enough due diligence through that purchase. So I purchased it. I was in Hawaii for my birthday, took my wife out there in August of this last year. And I purchased this property in Leverkin. I've told you about the Leverkin flip before, I think. Yeah. Beautiful property up on this hill, beautiful views. Was supposed to be cosmetic upgrades, and it was primed for that. It was good square footage based on comps in the area, good bedroom size. It just was like 2005, dark brown, ugly tile, right? So I was like, great, I should give this a facelift. So what we did was we'd spend about $65,000 in just renovation costs. That includes flooring throughout, full new kitchen, quartz countertops. I mean, this was like semi-luxury per se. I mean, I was shooting to sell this property for $570,000. Picked it up for $375,000, $65,000 of rehab, $25,000 or so of holding cost. I'm making a little bag. Great. Yeah. Until I find out, we go under contract, and probably the worst time it was. We actually went live. So we renovated it from August. We finished in the end of November, right when I was taking care of the storage facility thing. Right, had a lot going on, and We said it live after it was more money and my philosophy now actually is if with a good attitude and a lot more money you can accomplish anything. Honestly, because with a lot more money and a good attitude you can do it, but because everything is just more expensive than you hope it to be. And it always takes longer and it's more expensive. So when we finally were done with the house, we went live. It was winter time, relatively a crappy time to list houses anyways. We go live, we're sitting vacant. Now keep in mind, no one's living in this house, so I'm spending $3,000 a month of holding costs. So just month after month, it's just money's going down the drain for insurance and taxes and all that good stuff, utilities and my mortgage payment. Anyway, so we finally go under contract, and the buyer, cash deal, it was ideal. Now at this point we listed for $560. I just was committed. I was like, I don't want to keep it. I want to sell this property. I want to take that capital. I want to put into another project. And so I was like, I'm cool. We'll just keep dropping the price. Just keep going, right? So we dropped the price. We ended up going under contract for $470,000. So $90,000 less than what I was hoping to sell it for.
But you're still kind of...
At that point, I'm making my money back. I'm like, cool. I'm breaking even. I might be a little negative on some holding costs, which at the end of the day, you know, having a little bit of a negative is not a big deal. I can write it off of my taxes.
Sure.
Well, the guy's getting his inspection, and the neighbor is like, oh, hey, what's going on? You're buying this house, right? They have small talk, and they're like, well, hey, heads up. That house had foundation issues in the past.
Oh.
I didn't know about it, right? It wasn't disclosed to me. And so after we found out, so essentially what happened is we go on this wild goose chase. They call me, did you know about this? I had no clue. We call the city, and we see that there was a permit requested in 2019 for foundation repair, and it was never pulled. So it was approved, but it was never pulled. So we're like, okay, you don't just go and get a permit for foundation repair and don't pull it. So either it wasn't fixed or it was fixed and we can't really track it down. I finally tracked the company down that pulled the permit. He didn't want to talk to me. And I was like, dude, I really need to talk to you, man. Like, I really
wasn't Baseco.
It was not Baseco. I can confirm it was not Baseco. And the guy was really nice, but come to find out, the previous homeowner was suing the foundation company. So that's why he didn't want to talk to me. He was like, I want nothing to do with this property. Essentially what happened, that homeowner knew the foundation had issues, hired them. It was an $80,000 job. He paid 50% up front. That foundation company came out, excavated the side of the property, found out there were already piers that failed under the property. So there were already existing piers. They stopped everything and said, listen, we got to find out why these piers failed. Because if we're going to guarantee this work for life, which isn't uncommon for them to do, we need to find out the solution, and it's probably going to cost you more money. Homeowner wasn't very happy, fired him. He was like, your guys are trying to take advantage of me. So just a misunderstanding. But he already paid the $40,000. So the homeowner's trying to get his money back because they technically never did the work, but it's this mess. So I'm like, so was it fixed? We could not confirm. We don't know if maybe the previous company that put the pillars there went back to fix it. We don't know anything. So at this point, I had a decision to make. It was either I could negotiate with the seller and say, hey, I'll drop the price to this and you take it as is. Or I say, you know, we walk. I rent it out at a negative of every month because I couldn't rent it for more than I was paying on my holding cost. And then I would have to fix that foundation in the future anyways to the tune of another $80,000 and then hope that that I can sell it in the future. But hoping is not a strategy that I like.
Right.
I would rather get rid of it, wipe my hands clean of it, move on to the next thing. And that's ultimately what we did. We negotiated. I negotiated with the buyer. He took it as is. And I'm like, look, man, I bought it for $375,000. I sold to him for $400,000. I dropped it 70 more grand. And I said, look, man, you're getting a good house. I said, this renovation costs a lot of money and you're practically getting it for free. And he was like, I agree. And I was like, and here's the risk we have. That foundation costs you $150,000. Because if they have to shore up the side of the mountain, it's going to cost a whole lot more money. Or it could have been fixed and there's no issue. We don't really know.
Or you could just live in it and chance it.
And he's a retired guy. And I was like, look, man, like you have the time. I don't have the time to chase this down and do it the way that you want it. Because at first he wanted me to fix the foundation and then sell after all these inspections. But that would take months. I said, look, I don't have the time for all that. You do. You're retired. I'll give you the discount. We both go our separate ways. And he took it. I lost about $90,000 after it was all said and done in the renovation and the holding cost. Luckily, I have some short-term capital gains that I can offset with. and it's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
good
definitely
perspective.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can feel like that, right?
Totally. And yeah, totally. I've spent a lot of money the last couple months between the storage facility acquisition and the loss of that one and
Yeah.
a lot of other things. So, which is okay. Again, with more money and a good attitude, we can keep on chugging along.
Have you always had that perspective?
I've always been optimistic, man. I've always been optimistic. And it's funny because in mortgages, you can get jaded. Man, you can get jaded pretty easily in sales in general. But then you start losing money, you can get jaded too. And
The government decides what you can sell
Totally.
your product for, which is
100%
kind of
sucks.
messed up.
And on top of that, like it's people ask me, "Were you going to keep flipping houses?" Absolutely. It was my fault. Like I have no one to blame except myself. I should have gone a little bit deeper. But here's the thing. When you're making money and you do it hand over fist a couple of times, you think you can keep doing it forever. And it's easy to skip steps sometimes. So I reflect a lot. I'm like, okay, let's reflect on how could this have gone better? And sometimes, guys, there's nothing that could have gone better in it. And it's just, you can't control the uncontrollables. And I try not to focus on that stuff. Let it be. I'm like, if I can't control it, if it's completely like the government changing rates,
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. It's not going to ruin my attitude. And I try to put things on my shoulders. Okay, where can I get better at? And guess what? Next time I'm going under contract on a property, I'm going to be a lot more stringent about the type of inspections that I do. I could have saved 90 grand by making one phone call. Hey, City of Laverkin, were there any permits pulled on this property? Oh, that's interesting. Let me dig deeper into that, right?
Yeah.
One phone call.
Big
That-
lesson.
Yeah.
Save you thousands in the future.
But yeah, it was going to make me a lot more money in the future. 90 grand, guys. And going back into the way we want to think and how big we want to go is going to be a drop in the bucket. And 90 grand is a lot of money. It really is. But the goal is to make so much money that you're like, yeah, you're going to get those every once in a while.
When you're aggressive, which is like what you said, and I'm aggressive too. When you're aggressive, like there's a price for aggression, but it also is going to make you more than it's going to lose you, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're smart about it, right? And I like this idea that after something hard, a hardship or a failure, whatever you want to call it, how you see yourself matters, right? You look at yourself as more qualified, a better person, a better real estate professional, versus some people look at that and it really hits their confidence hard. And so I think that's a big takeaway for me is that your confidence, your optimism, your aggression, it really plays into even after a setback, you still feel more qualified to take on the next challenge.
Yeah. And I think that's a good segue into identity. And
Yeah.
like with identity, identity is really valuable if you use it in a positive manner, but can also be very detrimental to you if you don't, or if you're not aware about it. So for example, I'm gonna tell you like a positive way to identify. So I identify as a great loving husband, right? I can ask myself, okay, would a great loving husband do this? Would a great loving husband bring flowers to my wife? Answer would be yes.
Yeah.
So that I can use that as a guiding compass, right?
Okay.
But then let's take it
Yeah.
as a negative, right? I am a failure because I lost $90,000 on this renovation. I identify with that. What would that do? That could potentially ruin the path that I'm going down and be like, you know what? I'm never doing that again. I'm out of the game.
Yeah.
Right? So identity, like I try to be very careful with identity because I don't identify with a lot of things that people may think that we can get put into boxes. And it can be, oh, you're the mortgage guy. Well, I don't just do mortgages, man. Like mortgages is something that I do,
Yeah.
but I don't classify myself as a guy that does mortgage loans. Right?
Makes sense.
It's a vehicle in which I partake in real estate investing. I'm not like, hey guys, I am a storage guy. And I know that might, you are a storage guy, right?
Yeah, it's the opposite,
So,
but
for sure.
it's good to hear
But
your
for
philosophy.
me, like this is my philosophy is like, because I don't want to pigeonhole myself in certain verticals where I'm like, dude, like I can own storage and I can also own nightly rentals and I can also own this if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? You might not want to. You're like, you know what? I'm really good at storage. That's what I'm gonna stay within. And that's a conscious decision. The problem
Right.
is most people they identify with things that it's not conscious.
Yeah.
They just go, oh yeah, I'm a mortgage guy and that's all I do. And I hear that a lot. And I'm like, man, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to help yourself propel yourself financially and build wealth over time, because specifically doing mortgages will get me to a certain level of success.
Yeah.
And that'll be totally great for a lot of people. And they may love that. But that's just not the kind of life that I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've identified this as like, cool, this is something that I do, but this is not who I am. And so that keeps me open to recreate myself. I always want to recreate myself. I'm always looking for new skill sets. And I don't ever want to fall into a one single category where you're like, okay, this is all you know, and this is where you belong, and this is all you do.
Yeah.
Because I just want to hold that over myself. I want to be open-minded. I feel like I can learn anything.
Yeah.
I feel like I could become a coder tomorrow if I wanted to. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to coding school, and now I'm a coder. Like, I just feel like every opportunity is completely open. And that's just my philosophy. And that has allowed me specifically to parlay things into, going from not owning any real estate to owning up to 15 doors to then selling those doors and rolling them into other projects like the storage facility and a software company and other things like that. Whereas it would be very easy for me to be like, oh, nope, I'm a real estate guy and that's all I do. So I'm just going to keep buying, which is great if that's all you want to do. I just don't like to identify with just one singular thing. That's all.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, you don't want to put yourself in a box and limit your possibilities, limit what you could do with your life. And I think there is value to that. And I also see the other side too for others. Like when you become, that specialty, you can, if you're known as the storage guy, like people are going to call you and they might reach out to you for a deal. And so I see the value that people try to bring, but I think a lot of people, the majority of people probably suffer more by not following your philosophy of keeping themselves in a box or keeping themselves open to opportunities. And they could be better off if they followed that.
Yeah. I see some pros and cons to both, right? And I think for me, right, like I didn't just let myself be the mover, right? Like I also let myself be the storage investor. So like not limiting myself on the different things I could do, but then also within real estate specializing. So I see the different philosophies and how they can actually even work together.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So. And I think too, like, and it's may never has crossed your mind, but like a lot of my friends were like, oh yeah, you own real estate. And then they were shocked that I was selling a bunch of real estate. Right? Yeah. And it would be easy for me to be like, well, I want to hold on to this real estate because I identify as like,
I own this many doors.
Yeah, like they're going to be kind of like, wait, like you're no longer that guy now, right?
Yeah. The real estate guy.
The whole thing is about moving forward in whatever vehicle that I see fit, right? And right now is storage. But there's so many opportunities out there. And I love the storage facility, the one that I got specifically, because there's the value add opportunity. And I'm looking at that as kind of more of my nut. I'm hoping to add 100 more units this summer. Nice. Hoping to add some new fencing, and we're going to paint the facility. I mean, we're going to probably put another $200,000 of capex into this thing, but it's probably going to make about $20,000 to $22,000 a month of gross revenue. I'll be netting 11, 12 grand of net free cash flow, 13 grand a month net free cash flow. I would need a lot of single family rentals to make that kind of money.
Exactly.
Compare that to your 20 doors.
It's way less. I mean, well, it's way more than what I was making on the 20 doors.
I predict
and leverage too. Like how much, dude, I had over $2.5 million in mortgage loans in my personal name, pretty much consolidated, cleaned up all of that, rolled the equity into one property that has a lot more upside. Now, it doesn't now mean that I'm like, well, are you done buying single family? No, I want good deals, man. Yeah. I want to find a property. And this kind of goes into my real estate strategy going forward now. I used to just be like, I want 100 single family houses because I thought that means prosperity. I'm going to have, but man, 100 different tenants with 100 different toilets and 100 different fridges and 100 different problems. That it works for some people.
You have to have a property management company at that point.
You have to.
And you have to manage all of those managers, and there's a lot of work into that. It's a lot.
And then also the utilities for each property and the taxes for each property. I mean, I remember when I was up with as many units as I had, I was getting utility bills, and I'm like, I don't even know what property this is for. I almost paid one that I was like, why did I get this bill? I thought I paid it. It was a property that I sold. And I was like, oh, good thing I didn't pay it. I mean,
goodness.
I got like a late fee. It was like, you're late. And they sent it to my address. And I didn't even look at the address. And I was like, I don't know what property this is, but I'll just pay it, I guess. And it was one that I sold because it's hard to manage that stuff. Yes. And so now I'm like, the phase that I'm probably going to go through, and this is kind of my strategy today.
Yeah,
this can
let's hear
change
it.
tomorrow. But my strategy today is I want to build on the storage facility that I have. I want that to pay for my living expenses. We have a
Love
pretty
it.
modest lifestyle. I have a house. We got some cool cars and stuff, but it's fairly modest. And so that could pay for all my life and fun and lifestyle expenses. Then I can take 100% of my W-2 income and invest 100% of it.
Love it.
That will then throw, gasoline onto a fire, which then I can then acquire properties quicker because my cash can be renewed quickly. And what I'll probably do is I'll continue to look for storage facilities independently, potentially partner with people like you guys.
Yeah.
But also buy single family residences that I can either flip or renovate and keep, accumulate 10 to 15 units again, sell them all at one time. So over a 2 or 3 year period, I accumulate, 12 to 15 units, sell them all, take that nice wad of cash, dump it on one big property again.
Love it.
Do it
And
again.
then
Repeat.
over and over
Parlay
and over
small
again.
deals to big deals.
I think that's
Yeah.
what I'm going to do. I don't know.
That's cool.
I could sell a software company in a couple years for a lot of money and do none of it and be like, nah.
I wanted to hit on that, man, because definitely, I mean,
You mentioned it.
it comes back to me. Like, I feel really strong about my skills in real estate, but if I'm being honest, I haven't opened up myself to be able to do a software company. But I think it's so cool. Tell us how'd you get the confidence to go and take that leap?
I mean, when you're putting money on the line and realize it's just money, like the $90,000 I lost, it's a lot of money, and it sucks to lose money. But I would rather go through life trying and taking shots and spending money on projects that could 10x or 5x or even 2x versus hoarding it. What am I going to do with it, right? Yeah, I can buy some nice things, but essentially I started a software company. I'll tell you the story. I was going to buy a software company, and we just couldn't strike a deal because I liked how it vertically integrated with my day job, which is doing mortgages. And I was trying to buy this company, but I knew while I was going through my due diligence with the company, and it was a $60,000 acquisition. It wasn't a lot, right? It was this guy that built this software app that was very clunky, but it had the functionality that I was hoping to do. He had very little user base, and I was paying 3x of his top line revenue. And I just was like, well, I have to recreate the entire app anyways. So we just couldn't strike terms because I just was like, man, like I get why you're selling it for this, but I'm going to have to spend this amount of money anyways on just development on what I want to do.
Yeah.
So what homeless.io is, it's brand new. We actually haven't even gone live yet. We're with our beta team right now. So I'm using it for my personal clients. It's a home maintenance dashboard for clients. It's completely free to them. That's white labeled to me. So let's say, Ben, you're my client.
Sure.
We close a transaction together. I do a refinance for you or a purchase or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
After we close, I have a tech stack. So I have a CRM that I use, just like every business owner does. And typically, business owners like to bolt on different tools to whatever their main tool is, which could be your CRM, where you're like, cool, I got a CRM and I got a mailing software that connects via like Zapier with an API integration. So that way, every time some event triggers, it can send out this other software trigger, right?
Right.
Same exact thing with Homeless. Homeless is a bolt-on software product that bolts on, and that's universal for any CRM for real estate agents and loan officers, where if I close your transaction, you get an invite to homeless.io. You log into it. It's completely white labeled to me and my company. So Academy Mortgage is at the top. My face is on there. My reviews are on there. My contact information is on there. But what the functionality of the app is you now have a tool that you can keep track of all your maintenance records and tasks for your home. Deferred maintenance in real estate and in storage can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the biggest challenge of owning real estate is taking care of the real estate.
Yeah.
And so if you're a new homeowner, there's not a lot of technology for you to be able to do that. Yeah, you can use your notes app, you can use your calendar, but this is a sales tool wrapped in a maintenance task clothing per se.
So you do a service.
It's a free service.
Sales is kind of in the back.
It's all for sales. But what it is the you being the user, the end user being my customer, you're going to take advantage of this app that you can keep track of all your maintenance tasks and records. There's a 12-month pre-built plan right when you log in for the first time. You can upload all pertinent documentation. So if you go and buy a new fridge from Home Depot and you need to take a picture of the warranty information or the manual, you can upload that directly to your dashboard. When I was selling one of my properties last year, I did a $20,000 renovation. I told that to the buyer buying it, and he was like, oh, can I get some information on that? I couldn't find it. Couldn't find the invoices. I couldn't find what we did. I had to go and dig and dig and dig. And it took like a week and a half for the guy, the contractor, to send me the information.
Yeah.
I should have kept that stuff anyways for tax reasons, but I just don't.
Yeah.
So I could have took a picture of that and uploaded it to my dashboard. Last but not least is I can find local professionals. So let's say you're my client. I send you this app. You want to move. Big Ben's Moving Service is in there.
We're there.
100%.
Perfect,
So
man.
so the whole purpose is a home maintenance managing task for homeowners that's white labeled to the real estate professional. It's unlimited for the professional. So me, I'll pay $20. It's going to be $20 as we open up per month, but it's going to go up to $50 a month. And it's unlimited users. So if I had 1,000 clients in my database, I can upload 1,000 people. Wow. Or 5 or 10. I wanted to find a price point that for real estate agents or loan officers that it was beneficial for them regardless of their volume size. Because you'll get some agents that are like, well, I only do 7 transactions a year. Well, did you know 88% of people that after you close your transaction, if you're an agent, says they would go with you again. Only 12% actually do. Loan officers, the average person forgets their loan officer's name after 6 months. Doesn't that suck? I'm like,
That's
dude,
crazy.
I went to war for you in underwriting and you forgot my name. You know what I mean? I'm like, come on, man. And there's situations where clients just don't know. I mean, I had a client I followed up with. They love me. They send me their friends and family. They refinance with another lender because they didn't know that I could refinance them.
Yeah.
They never called and asked, but I didn't also tell them I just refinanced for them. So the whole purpose is we have a lot of technology in real estate. If you're a real estate agent or a loan officer, to get clients. Maybe that's from paying Zillow leads or Facebook leads, and then they go to your CRM and you can have a sequence to follow up with those leads. We have a lot of technology for that. And then we have a lot of technology for in the contract. Great, we're now under a contract. Here's how we keep you updated while we're under contract. But what about after we close? There's not a lot. I like to call it kind of more of a blue ocean, right? There's a lot of opportunity and there's not a lot of people in that area that are focusing on how do we actually restart this entire funnel and this loop to go back to the beginning. Because when it comes to margin, storage facilities, e-commerce, whatever it may be, we make our money when people come back to us because we don't have to acquire that customer again.
Right.
If I spend my storage facility, if I'm spending 2x rent on Sparefoot, I want to make sure I do a good job so that person recommends me to their friends and family.
Yeah.
Because if they do, I pay nothing for that referral. And I'm more profitable now as a business owner. Same thing with real estate. And if I can take a company's, like let's say Academy, if I can take Academy's repeat business from 11% to 20% on $10 billion of loans, how valuable is that?
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. So anyway, so our goal is 10,000 real estate professionals is my goal. So if you're a real estate agent or a loan officer, the whole goal is for you to give your clients a value add. It's a value add opportunity for you. You pay for it. It's free to your customer. You get 1 to 5 transactions a year. I mean, just one. I mean, if it's $50 a month, that's $600 a year. The average transaction size for an agent is like $7 or $8 grand.
At least.
Would you pay $600 to make $7 or $8 grand? Of course you would. Everyone would. And so that's the whole purpose. And that's the software company. So we built this app. We're a lot of money into it.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of money out of it yet, but we're going live here soon. We have some really cool partnerships, one specifically like Academy, and we have some really cool large partnerships rolling out over the next probably 6 months. And that's it, man. Like, again, going back to the identity thing, it'd be really easy for me to be like, dude, why would I go try to build a software company, man? You're a loan officer. Because there's no bounds to anything that we want to do. And so it's more so about just taking those shots. This can be a complete dud, but it won't be my first time I lost money, and I'm sure it won't be the last time. So,
I mean, that means everything, dude. Just being willing to swing for the fences says a lot about you.
And it's just money, guys. Like money matters. Money's significant. It's energy, right? It allows projects to flow and go. Without doing this extension and the addition to the development for my storage facility, I mean, I need money to do it, right? Yeah. So we need money to fill more projects. But But when you lose it, it's more detrimental to you than losing the money would be. Losing the money, being sad about it, and then, being self-pity, right?
Giving up.
It's like, let's just keep going. Yeah. I mean, there's so much money out there. There's so much money and opportunity, and there's so much to learn. And so that's it, man, guys. I just want to be someone that is continuing, I just want to continue to reinvent myself and learn new things and try new things. And some things will hit and some things won't, but you really only need one or two things to hit. I mean, you really, honestly, to really set yourself up. And even the storage facility game, I mean, my goal, if I can make $10,000 a month net free cash flow where I can live on that, I mean, I can live on that.
Right.
Who cares? Like, nothing else matters.
Protect that at all costs.
Yeah, I'm like, there's my nut, and I'm good. And then you just go build. It's like, cool. I can, at that pace, I can buy one storage facility every year for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
If I wanted to. So.
I love that. I mean, it's that mindset. If you have that mindset, my wife's uncle, he has a good relationship with money. And he's like, he always says money's everywhere. You just got to go pick it up. But he's very wealthy, and he does very well because he just has that good mindset around it, and then there's opportunities, you can go for it. So
you behave differently when you think money is scarce or hard for you to get, right? Mm-hmm. And so like your
abundance mindset.
Yeah, it's all comes back to abundance mindset. Like your wife's uncle or Alex, like just the fact that they see it as they're not afraid to talk about it. It's not taboo. They're not afraid to dream and say, I want it. They're not afraid to, but they're not going to also like hoard it. They're not going to, once they get it, they're not going to let it change their identity if they lose it. So it's kind of all coming full circle, right? Because if your identity has to do with money, that's when it's like the root of all evil. Mm-hmm. But when your identity is totally separate and money's just like a basic resource, just a small piece of the pie, that's when you start to see success.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the cool thing too is going back to the storage facility and creating value. We've talked about my real estate strategy of like, okay, I want to find an undervalued asset. I want to be able to put money into it, and I want to sell it or rent it out in the future. That's for single family and multifamily. And then there's a storage game. I mean, if we add 100 plus units to the facility, my facility prays for $1.5 million once I went through the SBA loan. So I had instant equity, which was great.
Yes.
So I add these units. I fill the units, which again, is easier said than done, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's work. It's sweaty. It's a lot of work to do it. But
yes.
But the value
we know.
Is now that facility is making $250,000 a year. At a 10% cap rate, that's $3.25 million or $3.5 million.
Yeah, you just made a couple $1 million.
Couple $1 million. You could just sell it and just go buy another one and then say, hey, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to go from a $3 million property to an $8 million or a $9 million property because I'll have, $1.5 million, $2 million to play with. I'll put that down on a $10 million price, 20%. There you go. Do the same thing. Now I'm going to sell that one, roll it into a $30 million property. Like you can, again,
yes.
It's endless. And we just sometimes have to add more zeros and more commas because it's funny because I was thinking, I catch myself thinking small sometimes too. Like I have to catch myself and be conscious. Like our dream, I want to build my dream house in 5 years. Like, and I want
it's on the list.
It's on the list. And I put 5 acres. I want a big house. I'm a big car guy.
Yeah, 5 acres.
I want to have some nice cars. But then I was thinking, well, why not 500 acres?
Why not?
Like, right? Because you're kind of like, I get taken back too by saying that. Like, well, dude,
but it's great.
5 acres sounds very attainable, but 500 acres, man. Well, like, where would you even find that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Would I even really want that? I don't know. But like, we find ourselves kind of thinking.
The point is dream big.
Totally. And it's like not so much dreaming big, but it's just about becoming comfortable with numbers that would often scare you. And
right.
I mean, 5 years ago, me saying $5 million, I'd have been like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys, I'm sure, take care, have acquisitions that cost $5 million all the time now. And you're just kind of like, well, 5 million is just 5 million. And then eventually it's going to be, oh, it's only 30 million only. And you're like, well, it's a lot of money, but like you're so familiar with the money and the amounts that you're just like, yeah, it's just, okay, 30 million. Okay. We need this much money to do it. Okay, great. We know the playbook.
The goals, hopefully it's $100 million portfolio, and that's something we could do. But
well, in your original examples, like I wrote down 5 acres, and then I switched it to 500 acres. And I think it's so funny because once you say 500 acres and put that out there, might get it, might not. Like, there's a good chance you could end up with that. But also, the 5 acres, if you're designing your life to own 500 acres, you're pretty much for sure going to get the 5 along the
Yeah,
way.
if he lands, if you land at 50 acres, you're still
Right.
you're landing
Yes.
pretty high compared to your first
Well,
goal.
it's funny too. Like when you start making money too, like you do become desensitized to things. You
Yeah.
just do, and it's lifestyle inflation, or it could be, again, just money. You can be like, okay, it's just $1 million. It's a lot of money. It's a lot, but you just become used to certain things, and you're just like, okay, well, if I'm under that, I'm kind of disappointed. Like, or you just kind of feel like, okay, well, it's not okay, cool. Like, sounds good, but I think the whole goal is just to be looking at things. If I was watching this and I was someone that didn't have any real estate yet, and I knew that was where I wanted to be, I would start looking at real estate every day. I would start looking at it.
Yeah.
And then I would start working backwards. I'm like, am I even bankable to get this property? And then start learning the game, because it's kind of like a game of chess. It's just like, okay, what are the rules and the confines I have to play within? And then how can I just maximize my abilities to maximize the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening
That's it.
to an episode of Bigger Pockets, and this lady, she came from Africa and basically built, like, she's doing $80K net a month right now. She did it in like 2 or 3 years. But in this episode, they said something like, if you're cash flowing $5, like if that's it, if you're netting $5 on a residential property, like you should do it, And I've been thinking, I don't know what you think about that, but when I hear you talk about storage, and it's almost like there's different avenues, but the point is it's getting you into the game. It's getting you into
Compared to what? It's compared to $0 or 5. You take the 5.
Mm-hmm.
When you have 5 or 1,000, you take the 1,000.
Yeah.
There's a little insight. He's debating on going into residential, and I'm trying to talk him into commercial, just because I'm trying to get out of residential and go into commercial.
Yeah. And there's phases, and it's like
Phases. Yeah.
and for us, but maybe it's like for you, you're like, I want to stay away from residential. I found my niche, and then you're just getting into it potentially. So you're like, well, there's stepping stones too. There's
I'm trying to help him skip the stepping
for
stones.
sure, and that's very possible, right? It's very, very possible. And like for me, it's funny because I'm so busy with my life. I got 2 kids at home. I got my wife. I got all these projects going on.
66.
Yeah, I got the Mustang coming. We got a lot of stuff, right? But I lost my train of thought.
I messed you up. I'm sorry.
I lost my train of thought.
Got him thinking about cars.
I know. Now I'm
You
like, I
have
can't
so
wait
much
to
stuff.
drive
You got
it.
a lot of things.
Phases
coming.
alive.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's good, man.
I don't know, man. But
No.
but
Life's
there's
good.
just- life is very good. But we just have to. Okay, I know what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
The storage facility. Why would you be managing the storage facility yourself? Now, people have asked me that. Like, why are you managing it? And I got a girl in the Philippines that I've hired, VA, who's helping me with collecting rents that are past due. They're sending in emails and text messages. And then I finally found my handyman with zero experience going into storage. It would be probably irresponsible of me to just be like, cool, I'm going to pawn this off to a management company, because it'd be very difficult for me to vet that management company, because I don't even know what I need to do yet. So for the last 6 months or so, I've been doing it myself. I've been driving up every once in a while, like probably once a week, picking up trash off the ground. I'm like, what the heck, man? Why do people do this, right? Yeah, probably not the best use of my time from a dollar per hour standpoint.
Yeah.
But the knowledge that I've learned from managing it myself and filling the units myself and running Facebook ads to get my units filled and responding to people, I'm doing it all myself. Because when I'm ready to eventually turn that over to someone or hire someone full time, I can train them. And so I guess the whole point of that was for you potentially getting into residential there could be nuggets of information that only you can learn.
It's true.
By owning that real estate and taking that path. But it's different for everybody. There's certain people.
That's the most valuable piece is the experience and the knowledge, because you're not, especially with the market right now, we talked about this yesterday, you're not going to rake it in on a condo or a townhome, right? But your experience and knowledge is so valuable that if it's do the townhome or do nothing, you do the townhome anyway.
Yeah.
Just because you learn so much.
And the thing too with here's the thing. I work with investors every day. We do a lot of loans for people. So I see the ins and outs. I see the cash flow. And there's not a lot of cash flow to be made right now unless you really buy deals, insanely good deals. But even then, like, the market's still hot. I have a client. We're funding a hard money loan for her. We're closed tomorrow. There was 19 offers on the house.
Oh, wow.
19.
Wow.
Jeez.
It was listed for 325. He got under contract for like 370. So it was over asking, right?
That's freaking
Cash.
crazy. Still.
19. So that's what I'm saying. So here's the thing is like,
Can't believe it.
in this market, your strategy has to change. It just has to. In storage and residential, and you have to be able to ebb and flow. If you think like, okay, there's the one way I'm going to make money, and no matter market conditions, I'm going to do it. Sometimes you'll be successful, and sometimes you won't. But by buying a property today, here's a strategy. You have to buy a property today and take advantage of the price. Take advantage of the concessions you can get. Beat them up as much as you can. And then refinance as quickly as you can. But having enough reserves and being prepared to pay $200 to $800 a month of negative cash flow out of your own pocket, you got to be prepared for that. Because if the moment rates come back down, values and prices will go back up. We're still under 4.5 months of inventory, our absorption rate here in St. George.
Yeah.
So that means if rates go back down, we're going to go back to having very little inventory.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people fighting over the inventory that is available. Therefore, the equity that you have in your properties will go up.
Yeah.
And so that's the game that we're playing today. But that game is not great for everybody. And so understanding the game and being like, do I want to participate? Yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even with the storage facility, I have a 7.25% interest rate on my storage facility on $1 million. Like that's not nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it was 5% or 4%, my cash flow would look a lot better. But I also wouldn't have bought it for 1.25%
Yes.
either.
Yes.
I would have bought it for 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 2.25%. And so that's the thing is like just understanding the landscape, whether that's through experience or learning. And I know like I love Bigger Pockets and I watch YouTube. I watch an ungodly amount of YouTube. It's ridiculous. My wife is probably sick of YouTube. I love YouTube, guys. And I call it YouTube University. But I think
I watch a lot of YouTube.
a lot of YouTube, man. And like it's fun looking at people's success stories. But I don't look at the end result that they got. I looked at what were the indicators that they looked at to take. Sometimes it was luck. They weren't even aware of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, going back to me buying all the real estate I had, I was buying real estate with low interest rates so I could overpay for real estate. And I wasn't able to do due diligence because they were like, you buy it or leave it. And I got very lucky in the sense that I didn't buy a lot of duds.
Yeah.
When now the market flipped, I tried to do the same strategy. Buy the property, didn't do a lot of due diligence. Guess what happens? I got wiped out. So it's more so about understanding the rules and the market and then just playing by the rules and then understanding, do I want to partake or not?
Yeah.
If you don't own real estate, you should own real estate. Any kind of form of real estate. If you don't own a primary residence, buy a primary residence. And that's my opinion. Because again, you're controlling an asset. And at the end of the day, it is an asset, whether you're paying for it or someone else is paying for it. Mm-hmm. Because that asset can be sold later at a higher or lower value. And so you can lever it. You can do a lot of cool things. You can get tax benefits from it. So it makes sense owning real estate. But it doesn't mean it always makes sense buying real estate in every market either.
Right.
I think right now is a great time to buy if you're positioned to buy. And you have either enough cash or enough reserves to be able to weather any kind of storm you need to, because we don't know when these rates are going to go down. And so that's the question mark is it doesn't, but if you bought a bunch of real estate right now and then it went up 30% and it'd be when rates go down, well, 30% times 5 properties could be $500,000 in equity.
Yeah.
Well, you take the $500,000, you sell your properties, you're going to lose some value because you got selling costs because transacting real estate's dang expensive, which sucks. Yeah. You take all that money and you dump into one storage facility. The nice thing too was you're in this, I'm not in this category yet. I don't have 2 years of owning real estate, but when you hit 2 years of owning real estate, you can start buying real estate with 10% down. So $4 million property with 10% down is like $400,000 versus needing to put 20 or 30% down, which your numbers change drastically.
Yeah.
So you know, go buy as much real estate as you can sustainably, which is important. Make sure you do your due diligence from that standpoint. My opinion would be to then package that real estate up and sell it at some point, roll it into a storage facility. You own that one storage facility. You're going to use that cross-segregation study to wipe out all the taxes you paid on all the taxes that you're the short-term capital gains or long-term capital gains you got. On to the next.
There's the playbook.
There's a playbook.
It's a good playbook and for free.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah, exactly. So
Minus all the dollars you spent, but here on
spent
the
and
show.
lost, exactly. So
Well, thank you so much, man. You provided a ton of value. Like my takeaways, just vision casting, goal setting, optimism, being that guy that can be aggressive and having the right perspective and relationship with money. Like today, I think everyone's gonna benefit from hearing you.
For sure. There's so much information here that I think people listen to and apply just would really benefit their lives. And you gave your strategy, like your playbook, and I love it. It's so cool to see and all the success you've had and what you've done in your life and the way you live. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, reach out to him, Academy Mortgage, homelist.io.
Yeah.
Not homeless, homelist
Yep.
with a T.
yeah,
And then all his storage ventures. He's a really good guy to network
Yep.
with. So
For sure.
appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you.